Mildred Loving, at the age of 18, a black woman, well, a woman of color. She actually was a mixture of Rappahannock Indian, African American. She fell in love with Richard Loving, a white man. Unfortunately, they lived in the Commonwealth of Virginia. They got married, and they were arrested for having gotten married in another state. They got married and they crossed state lines and went back home to live. Mildred and Richard Loving fought a battle all by themselves. There were only the two of them. When the case was over, because they did not want to grant interviews, they lived and died quietly, unknown.
I personally have a personal interest. My children are biracial. So had it not been for the Loving couple, their parents, their biological parents, could not be together. As we go into Black History Month, I step back, and not only do we just look at our forefathers and people that stood out and were proud and courageous in doing things to say, this matters. Well, here is a couple that said, we matter. I applaud them for being able to allow my children to be able to see that story and know that they are individuals because this couple stood up and said, this is the right thing to do.
The reason this has made history in the civil rights movement is they decided that they had the right to live wherever they wanted to live. They had the right to be married to each other, and they wanted to go back home. And it took them 9 years to get back home, and the case went all the way through the state courts, up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And 9 years after they were married, they were able to go back home, where he built her a house, and he was a bricklayer, and they lived and they raised their children on the farm with places to run and play and enjoy themselves the way they had grown up.
One thing about the documentary is it's a wonderful love story, and it's also a story about the legal process, and it's about civil rights. And so when it's all said and done, it has all those things interwoven into it. And then at the end, there's a panel of folks who've studied the Loving family, who've studied the rights of people, and they're here to make sure that we can answer any questions, we can address any issues, because when it's all said and done, when we walk out of this theater, we've had a great experience from the documentary, we've had a great experience from the discussions, and then, you know, as we close our eyes and go to slumberland, we've had an experience that we never knew we had.